JMX just picked up a massive victory this weekend over Ginty on the Misfits X Zone Series 2 undercard following a 4-year layoff. And yeah, he called out Logan Paul himself, saying that that's the matchup he wants in MMA or boxing. And I think this fight should get made in MMA, seeing as JMX has fought in MMA. So today we are going to break down JMX's fight and some footage of Logan Paul as well to look at it and really reason and determine why Logan Paul might win or why JMX might win. So today we're going to jump in and break down some footage. So first off, we're going to look at this JMX versus Wojtek Gola. He is this guy right here. He is the founder of Fame MMA. And these two had a exhibition, or a amateur fight rather, seeing as it was a 3-minute rounds and puffy gloves. So JMX comes out right here. Yeah, we're just jumping straight into this breakdown, by the way. So JMX comes out, pumping the jab, fires this jab in. And then from here, very telegraphed naked low kick, which this is the theme of this and something I'm going to be talking about. JMX does nothing to address and sits on a right hook. Don't get me wrong, this right hook isn't terrible, but we're going to watch that from later on. Beautiful. This switch kick is really, really nice. The transition to it, he doesn't push off it as much and like torque with it, but it's a really good switch kick. So then this nice jumping or lead switch in low kick comes in that he does a good job, but he's very good range management. JMX slides out of the way of it. So now they're out here back in the open. Now once again, here's this rush in. JMX doesn't really address this low kick, but what does he do? Tries to check it. This is the only time he tries to check any low kicks in this entire fight. The only time we've ever seen him try to check a low kick. This is his biggest weakness. Watch this check. Just completely destroyed by the check. Does nothing. He's not very stable and sturdy with the check. He's off balance, and that causes him to go back and actually causes more damage to him than it probably would have been caused if he just stayed there, because it took some damage around his calf. He feints in, and there really wasn't too much else. But look at this. This is a nice shot from JMX. Good job of turning over, and those punch isn't thrown perfectly, but he still fires this check right hook, gets out of the way. JMX does a good job of marching forward on his opponents. So here's this once again, this lead switch, kind of blitzing low kick. Now JMX reads it as a right hook, or as a jab, so he fires a counter right hook, but he sits down on his right hook and pivots. Now in boxing, that's something I like to see, the pivot, but in MMA, that's something you can't do, because why? This will happen. Now, if his opponent stayed a bit more from range and didn't really leap in with the low kick, which you should never be doing, really, if he didn't leap in with the low kick and just stayed from the outside, he would have hurt JMX. Like, it would have been a nice shot down to the hamstring, but instead, leaps in and just kind of collides with his thigh on JMX, on the back of JMX's thigh. So now, once again, we have this blitzing attack. JMX sits down on this right hook, and then you're going to see in a sec where we'll fast forward through it, but here's a nice teep up the middle. JMX, like I'm talking about, he has pretty solid range management, at least in kick for the kicks. Once again, is able to just slide out of the way of the low kick. But once again, JMX is a southpaw, and they keep cutting to this lady. I don't quite know why, but JMX is a southpaw. There's this nice, his switch kick is very good. It's not really telegraphed, it's very quick, and he just fires and finds the mark on the back of the hamstring. Now this is coming in. Now this is a problem with JMX too. This guy kind of sets up the low kick pretty well and lands it. Partially, JMX kind of crashes in, and they get into this pretty sloppy exchange. And there's this kick. I mean, it was not to the liver because it was the right. I don't know where it was to, but it definitely did some damage. And I always see JMX really just take control in this clinch. And this is where he really finishes out a lot of this round. But we're gonna get to the final parts. But I'd like to fast forward through a couple parts here. He's just kind of hanging on to these, not even overhooks, he's kind of just hugging across as his opponent kind of keeps those at underhook. He's doing a good job digging knees, but I would like to highlight here where he goes to the tie plum. This is called the tie clinch or the tie plum, and basically you're going to see why it's so effective. Grabs both. If you've ever done jiu-jitsu, maybe like a can opener, you could almost compare it to, but basically he's here, and it's just pulling back on the neck, pulling his head towards him and in him inside this plum. It's called the tie plum, and here he's just able to fire knees And basically, this is pretty good work from JMX. He's clearly worked some work in the Thai gym before. Maybe not enough on how to check kicks, but he's got some experience there. Now here, this is where I'd like to highlight from JMX. So we see here, he kind of pushes him off the cage, kind of like a Suigoshi, but look at this. Watch how he gets this. It devolves into more of just a hip toss, a naked hip toss, right? And now JMX ends up here. But what I want to highlight here is Logan Paul grappling to like 30 to 40 pound bulking season Bohachinya Paulo Costa. If you don't know him, he is a now not undefeated. He's like 14-2. I gotta watch him live, which is pretty cool. But basically, just some high level stuff from Logan. The way he shoots it on this single and then is able to quickly transition around to the back, grab this underhook, and then from here, look again. What's Paulo Costa hitting an actual Suigoshi? Now, Logan Paul is able to just slide out of this. Now, I know there's not a fence here, which does change grappling by a lot, but I would like to highlight Logan Paul's just overall skill level inside grappling. Logan Paul's a D1 wrestler, in a college D1 wrestler. Don't forget that. He has a legitimate wrestling skill level. So basically, he just pulls out and is able to make Paulo Costa slide out. They're obviously sweaty, though, which these guys, they are pretty dry in this exchange. But from here, we see JMX land right here into this. He kind of finds an arm triangle. So he's got this hand over, choking him here. And then this hand is in between his other hand. His opponent's right hand is in between JMX's left hand. And he's able to grab a gable grip here and start to push down and apply pressure. So now what JMX needs to do here, this hand is not fully in, it looks like. So he needs to take this hand and continue to walk it along. Literally like crawl his hand with like finger by finger, crawl it across, bring this around, and that's how you can kind of set up this arm triangle. But instead, JMX does something that I actually really do like. He recognizes that he does not have it, goes instead for a bit of an overhook on this arm, which you can't really see, and instead of deciding to take this 3/4 or more of a side control position, he decides to go to the full mount. And this is just smart, good positional awareness, in which we see his ability to, really recognize position over submission. And he really just ends the round off here, pounding away. Now, we obviously got to go to the next round. But before we get into this next round, I'd like to go back and look at this Logan Paul wrestling versus Paulo Costa. So Logan Paul, after he gets off that, slides out of that judo throw from Costa. He goes to take the back. Now, Paulo Costa, being a high-level black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, goes down to his knees and is able to roll with it. Now, this forces Logan Paul, who's trying to take the back. Paulo Costa stops the momentum. Logan Paul literally goes flying over the shoulders, hits this roll here, and does a good job of shrimping right back to the guard. So now here we go from open space on the mats. Paulo Costa looking for really a takedown. Logan Paul able to grab this underhook. Really good job fighting this hand. But Paulo Costa, probably having like 30 or 40 pounds on Logan, is able to just drive over this underhook, go get onto the back almost. Now Logan Paul tries to spin. What does that get him? Right into a possible double leg. Logan Paul so quick to see that. I'm not trying to be like a Logan Paul, you know what? He's genuinely a pretty solid wrestler. So he goes here. And then from here, he looks to hip heist, gets the hip heist out, but is not able to fully clear. So then Paulo Costa takes the back. Great job to control both hands. I'd like to see him sit out, but Paulo Costa looks to get the back, but Logan Paul, great job able to scramble out. And that's the end of that round. Now we move on to the second round of JMX versus this Fame MMA CEO. Now, one thing I'd like to say, Logan Paul is definitely who I would favor in this matchup because of mainly that grappling exchange, but also JMX's just inability to address low kicks. Now, I'm not saying Logan Paul's going to be super great throwing low kicks, but Logan Paul's a very powerful guy and a guy that picked up on boxing pretty well, pretty fast. He is an athlete, don't get me wrong, so I think Logan Paul would be able to find some of those low kicks as long as we get the shin conditioning up, obviously. So now here is a pretty bad thing from JMX, which, I mean, my man's looking like he just watched someone play the UFC video game and decided to spam the buttons, because watch how he sets this spinning back fist up. Now, if you want to set up a spinning back fist for a southpaw, you want to throw a right hook to set this up. That's one of the main setups, or just even a jab. It's a great dot for a rear hand spinning back fist. Now, he goes for a front hand spinning back fist. Now, this is something you don't see too much But one thing that you can do with it is this right hook, and he kind of starts to feint it, but it just completely misses. And this low kick's coming in, and he just does not address it at all. Instead, he vies to just go for that. And then we have JMX. JMX does a good job here, just kind of controlling the range. Does not address these low kicks, man. But he fires his right hook, pretty lazy. JMX, even that step there, just where he crossed his legs. Now here's a nice kick to the body. If he really was on his toes here and stepped out more, he'd be able to really track him as he went across the cage. But instead, he just kind of pushes him off, and he's hurt this guy to the body. I mean, clearly this guy's defeated. Switch kick, low kick, great shot, except it goes to the balls. So we gotta fast forward. I mean, he hurt my man pretty bad with that one, but he is able to continue, thankfully, and we get to see this from JMX, which, it's a pretty suspect finish, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So yeah, here we go, from JMX, feinting in. Nice jab, though, in fairness. The way he steps in between this guy's stance, I don't like to see, because Logan Paul is a orthodox fighter, so he wants to step to the outside to really control. What's that also going to set up? That left kick right to the body. That always opens up when southpaws fight orthodox fighters. Well, JMX, obviously, is not that well used to this. And don't get me wrong, man, MMA is so much harder to learn than boxing for a YouTuber. In the sense that you have to master so many different arts. A nice low jab, though. You don't see enough bodywork in MMA in general, let alone in YouTube boxing, or YouTube MMA. And so he just fires with this counter right hook. Like I said, he really pivots on this, which you don't want to do in MMA. Eats this low kick, does not address it, misses, but then a nice job of firing back with the left kick to the liver, left body kick to the liver, and a nice right hook. Now, this is where this pays off, because he's just able to rock him pretty bad, and he hurts him bad. I mean, my man is stumbling, fires this low kick, so now he's back up, and the equilibrium is kind of gone. So he fires this teep, not really pushing out with the leg, and he just kind of starts to crumple. He kind of stepped out weird. I wonder if he hurt his knee, but JMX doesn't land anything. He falls, and instead of, he tries to go to his guard. JMX does a good job of really just smothering the guard. Now, if he had MMA experience, he'd likely be able to maintain a butterfly guard, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience, rather. He'd be able to get this butterfly guard from here for this Gola guy. But JMX does a good job of just kind of smothering the guard and getting a hold of both legs, really controlling them, and just sliding, knee sliding almost, duck walking almost around, and is able to just finish this fight off from a, or a side control position, just pounding away with ground and pound. And yeah, that's how JMX got his first victory. But is he good enough to beat someone like Logan Paul, who has legitimate grappling credentials that would probably just hit a blast double on JMX? I don't know, we haven't seen enough, but just from the striking alone, I got Logan Paul in a match between these two in MMA. JMX did not show great high-level grappling. He showed a decent level of awareness to take position over submission, but that's the really only thing I can write home about. For Logan Paul, however, from a 3-year-old clip with Bohachinia, one of the most, at the time, probably the most feared prospect in that entire division until Israel Adesanya absolutely destructed him. Logan Paul is pretty impressive on the ground, and JMX, we haven't seen enough. But just from that boxing match alone, too, which I will probably do a breakdown on, JMX, not a lot of balance, not too just strong in general, and a pretty sloppy right hook that he loves to throw. Logan Paul would likely slip it and counter it, or just quite frankly hit a high crotch and dump JMX on his head multiple times. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on it. If you are new to the channel, I do breakdowns on this, mainly about YouTube boxing, but when anything gets mentioned about MMA, I love to jump on it, because that's what I'm more of a, I guess, expert in. That's more of my field. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, like and subscribe, and give it a share. Show it to someone if they think JMX would beat Logan Paul, because he probably wouldn't. So yeah, thank you for all the support lately, and peace.